Smile. What is it?
Good afternoon and welcome to our presentation. If you look, you'll find how inspection, alignments, and tire sales can unlock consistent profitability. My name is David Sickles and I am the editor of Tire Review and the moderator for this event. Today's webinar is sponsored by Hunter Engineering Company. The automotive repair business isn't always predictable, but this much is. Approximately half the vehicles on the road today are out of alignment. Fortunately, alignments are a service that you can easily provide. If you commit to diligently inspecting every vehicle that comes on the lot, you'll build a sizable chunk of business you can count on every day, year in and year out. Before we get started, I'd like to address some housekeeping items. So as part of this webinar, we will have a live Q&A session. We will address some questions during the last portion of the event, and to improve your chances of your question being answered, don't wait until the end to submit them. Ask questions as you think of them. Simply type your question into the Ask a Question box, then click the Submit button. This webinar is being recorded and it will be available on demand for you to view. We encourage you to direct coworkers to the recorded presentation, and tomorrow you'll receive an email with a link to the recording, and it will also be posted on the Shop Owner brand and Tire Review websites. Within this webinar software, you have the ability to open, close, and resize different elements on your screen. To make a window larger or smaller, grab a corner of the window and drag it. You can also make some windows full screen by clicking the Maximize button in the upper right corner of that window. If you want to receive a certificate of attendance, click on the graduation hat icon within the black toolbar on the left side of your computer screen. In that same toolbar, you'll also find icons to share the webinar by email or on social media. If you're viewing from a mobile device, you may need to click the 4 dots menu in the upper right corner of your screen to view the different icons. Your feedback helps us make these events better, so please click the survey icon to leave your comments about today's topic and presenters. The survey will also appear in the middle of your screen toward the end of the event. If you need help at any point during the webinar, send us a message through the Ask a Question box. And finally, if the slides stop advancing or if you are having problems with audio, try pressing the F5 key at the top of your keyboard or Command R if you're on a Mac. It will refresh the webinar console on your screen. Now I'd like to introduce our speakers. We're happy to have Dave Prost, business consultant at Hunter Engineering Company, joining us today. Dave began his automotive career as an apprentice tech for a Chrysler dealer in 1983, before later becoming a journeyman technician for 11 years and then a service advisor for 8 years. He became a service manager in 2001 and was named Service Manager of the Year for the Midwest Business Center in 2006. Dave began his Hunter career as a business consultant 2 years ago, in which he enjoys using his experience to assist business owners and managers with increasing their profitability. We also have Miles Dierker joining us today. Recently celebrating 8 years with Hunter, Miles has held several roles within Hunter's training department. Currently, as field training manager, he works directly with Hunter customers visiting the corporate office in St. Louis and provides in-depth training and education to help customers find the Hunter products that best fit their needs. Additionally, Miles serves with Skills USA as a member of the National Automotive Service Technology Committee. Now, let's get our presentation started. Dave and Miles, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, thanks, David. We appreciate everybody joining us here today.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're from.
Yeah, definitely. So on behalf of Hunter Engineering Company and Dave and myself, thank you for joining us today. Today, we want to just kind of dive in a little bit and talk about kind of the opportunities that are there with inspections, alignments, kind of the ins and outs with those services out in the industry.
And the potential growth it can bring to your business.
So let's dive on in. So as we kind of mentioned, it's the theme for today is kind of, if you look, you will find. So kind of the things that we'll cover for today. If you're not doing many alignments now, then we'll kind of talk about why you maybe should consider doing that. Doing alignments, there's a lot of potential there for profitability for those shops. And if you're doing alignments now currently, what can we do to kind of boost that opportunity as well, uncover some of the new opportunities with the alignments and the vehicles that are coming into the shops. We're also looking at where we can increase opportunities just kind of across the board as far as tires as well. So alignment and tires kind of go hand in hand when we're looking at tire wear based on alignment condition. We can kind of talk about a little bit the opportunities that are available as well with that. So all of this kind of centers around inspection, right, Dave?
It does. It does.
Yeah, why do many repair facilities offer wheel alignment? Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Because they know there's a tremendous amount of profitability involved, number one. Number two, most customers that purchase their tires from somewhere are, obviously doing more business with them. They're collectively getting more business from that customer than that customer going to 2 or 3 doctors. So they know they have a facility that can take care of everything.
And I think as David mentioned in the beginning of our webinar here, nearly about half of the vehicles out on the road typically could benefit from some form of wheel alignment. So if you figure for every 10 vehicles coming into the shop, there's a potential that 5 of them could benefit from having a wheel alignment performed. There's a lot of profitability available there as well.
A lot of potential.
So the great thing is we get into this a little bit when we talk more about alignments. It's kind of a consumer confidence. It's almost like cheap insurance for new tires. So for those customers that are coming into the shops that are purchasing a new set of tires, I don't know about you, but tires aren't getting any cheaper in my neck of the woods.
No cheaper.
Yes.
And something I think consistently out in the world of automotive, whether it's a dealership or an independent shop, we have reminders for oil changes, for God's sakes, on most new cars today, and people bypass it. Most people don't pay much attention to their tires, much less an oil change. They worry about putting gas in a car and driving it from point A to point B. So being able to be that service center, that's the go-to guy that can provide this kind of service and peace of mind for their customers, I think is huge.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And on a new set of tires, offering that alignment service is kind of that cheap insurance policy to protect that new investment, I think is critical for a lot of consumers out in the industry.
And actually out in the market, it's actually more like 60% than it is 50. 50 is a conservative number.
Yeah. I think typically we see about half, but this is probably a conservative number. It is probably closer, a little bit closer to about 60, about 6 out of 10 vehicles. So alignments are also pretty easy to perform as well too. I think nowadays things as far as the software and the technology has progressed to a point to where alignments typically aren't necessarily the hardest job in the shop to perform.
With the equipment Hunter offers, we have alignment equipment that you can actually get compensation for an alignment within 2 minutes of putting the car on the rack, which is pretty incredible. Mm-hmm. And the average alignment probably takes 15 to 20 minutes, providing it doesn't need major repairs. So accident victim or something like that. So
yeah, sure.
Toe is the most common setting on an alignment today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a critical point as well too, is most of the manufacturers for vehicles are kind of simplifying the adjustment processes in a lot of the new vehicles as well too. You're seeing more toe and go kind of alignment setups on a lot of new vehicles.
And with the software we provide, it has everything you need to show somebody where to make their adjustment points, how to make the adjustment points. So it's very, very simple, very easy.
So speaking a little bit to kind of the profitability as well, I know it's no secret out in the industry that we see alignment as the largest kind of profit margin service available out there to most shops.
In my travels, independent shops and dealerships, I see alignments anywhere from $129 to $199. I see even 4-wheel alignment procedures being done for $249. So the ROI capability for alignments is absolutely tremendous, as we'll see in some of the slides coming up here.
Yeah, alignment, I think it's great because it's pretty much a very labor-heavy service. It's a lot of parts that we can also add into that repair order as well too.
And generally with this, we're going to show you an ROI based off of just the alignment itself. It's not including any additional services that's taken place on the vehicle. when doing alignment, who's test driving the car prior to putting it on the rack, number one. Who's checking air pressures to make sure that the air pressures are all correct, and who's really shaking down the front end to make sure that the components are all solid on this vehicle before performing the alignment itself. So there's always possibilities to grow that business over and beyond just the cost of the alignment. So
yeah, sure. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the nuts and bolts here. So it's kind of common theme throughout the industry now that a lot of cars kind of need two different styles of wheel alignment. We're seeing kind of the mechanical side, which is kind of your base level alignment. We'll call that like a level 0 alignment. That's going to be the camber caster toe adjustments, the parts replacements, the camber kits, the shims.
Now you're getting into the technology side of it.
Right, and beyond that, now we're seeing more and more vehicles that kind of need that additional service with the ADAS systems, the steering angle sensor resets, electronic stability control sensor resets, things that are more kind of the electronic side of the alignments as well too. And some of that stuff we've been dealing with for quite a while, since probably the early late 2000s in there with the steering angle sensors on a lot of vehicles. But I think we're actually kind of getting more into the realm of kind of that level 2, level 3 style alignment with the ADAS.
Right. You can start ride height, adaptive cruise, and lane departure warning. These are all added profit margins that take place. These are all added systems that need to be adjusted, providing what kind of alignment you are doing and how involved it gets. A lot of the cars today with the technologies requiring this, you want to make sure you have the equipment to be able to provide for it.
Yeah, sure. And of course, it's not totally blanket across the board as to which manufacturers require this pre or post alignment, but it is something to consider with vehicles that are in for alignment service in the case that they might have these systems.
The ADAS system is definitely growing. It's getting much bigger in the market overall.
Absolutely, yeah. It's no secret that ADAS is kind of the new emerging technology in the industry, and it's it seems to be very popular on a lot of vehicles. We're seeing it more as a standard piece on a lot of manufacturers' vehicle lineups, where they're including this not only on their base model sedans, but their high-end trucks as well.
Right, and it's not going away.
Yeah, it's definitely not going away. So something to consider with the alignment side when we kind of dig in a little bit on we're talking about alignments and ADAS. That's something to consider. That maybe a question to ask yourself as a shop owner or a manager is, hey, what are we doing with these vehicles that come in that have these systems equipped on the vehicle? Do we have the capability to handle that?
Are we equipped?
Definitely. So like I mentioned, there's quite a bit of different technology out there as well. I know Hunter offers quite a bit of different pieces of technology that help with some of these ADAS systems as well.
CodeLink. CodeLink is one for steering angle sensors, also even reprogramming some tire pressure monitor sensors and stuff like that. And then we have the ADAS Link.
Now what's ADAS Link?
ADAS Link is a full diagnostic Android tablet that will actually hook up to these cars and do some of these dynamic calibrations that we're talking about here for these customers with the alignment systems.
So those dynamic calibrations where you're taking the car out on a test drive.
You're actually test driving it and running through the calibration processes itself.
Okay. Now you mentioned that CodeLink tool. Is that something else that's available as well?
It is. It's standard. Standard on a Hawkeye Elite.
Yeah. So standard with our alignment system.
Yes.
It gives you some coverage there as far as the steering angle sensor resets, kind of limited on the lane departure and forward-facing calibrations, as well as for the dynamic test drive side. But there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of technology out there that can help.
A lot of opportunity, and again, when we talk about profitability, gross profit, growing your business, these are added services that we can provide to our customers to assure once the alignment's done, these adjustments are being made. Big peace of mind, obviously.
I think most shops are kind of in line with wanting to be able to offer their customers the best kind of service they can. And
You bet.
one way to do that is to have the technology to handle some of these these newer systems that are out on the newer vehicles.
You bet. And the technology we provide makes it very easy for the technicians to utilize as well.
Definitely. So kind of just breaking this down a little bit, I know we kind of transitioned back to the kind of mechanical alignment side, but this also kind of ties in a little bit with some of the ADAS or the adaptive advanced driver assist systems as well too. But kind of a myth out there is that alignments take too long. Is that true? I don't think it is. I know on my experience, typically they don't take too terribly long.
No, not at all. As I mentioned before, you put a car on the rack and you do a dual rolling comp, and you can get your compensation within 2 minutes to just start. And the alignment processes are pretty easy. And if somebody's having a difficult time, the software we provide with our system actually has a breakdown and shows them where to make the adjustments, how to make the adjustments, what tools they need to make the adjustments with or for. And it's generally, again, average alignment 15-20 minutes.
Yeah. And I know it's kind of the new and improved alignment software that's out there, out of the market, does make things a lot easier, a lot faster for the technicians, where you don't necessarily need to have that top tier, super experienced, super talented alignment technician to do kind of your run of the mill alignments.
Well, in today's world, the way we're all conducting business is different than we did 10 years ago. In a lot of cases, the way we pay our techs is different than we did 10 years ago. And I have some shop owners that I run with or run through on a monthly basis that have really changed their format to hiring alignment specialist, and instead of paying them hourly wages, are paying them per alignment. So they're knocking it out of the park as far as what they're able to produce. And these guys don't have to be super technical. They can bring them over to Hunter for a 3-day class with Ron, or we can do in-house training.
Any of our field trainers.
Yeah, any of our field trainers out in the field. Or we can do in-house training with your staff. But just to concentrate on alignments does not be a level 3, level 4 guy at all.
Absolutely. And I think that kind of cracks open that second myth that you don't necessarily need that top tier technician to kind of perform the alignment. Again, with the newer software, the newer systems, that learning curve has really been flatter than ever before, which is, I think, a great thing for the industry. I know a lot of the shops that I work with and have talked to, a lot of the customers that we've had come through here at Hunter at the headquarters here in St. Louis, kind of the common theme across the industry is it's getting harder to find good talent, find people, bring people in. So having a process that's pretty easy to learn across the board really kind of opens up that talent pool a little bit, which could be a good solution for some folks out there as well.
It could be. You want to keep your highest paid top level 3, level 4 techs doing level 3, level 4 work.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Something else too, I think, is maybe something to consider is kind of that third myth up there. When things get busy at a shop, a lot of times that alignment discussion with customers at the front counter gets dropped, right? It's just kind of, well, we'll address that if we have to, but, right? I think the real kind of fact with that, and kind of the thing to remember with that, is anytime we're doing inspections, alignments will be easier to sell than ever, right? So if we're inspecting the vehicles that are coming in, we're gathering up the information we need, and we have good front counter staff that can have those conversations with the customers. We can really close those alignment opportunities as well, and again, kind of boost the profitability of alignments for that shop.
Very much so. And I think, as we'll see in some of these further slides, with our quick check drive system that can inspect the alignment as the car pulls in, there's really not much of a sales pitch to it. It's pure facts. It's immediate. It's right there, and the easiest sell ever.
Absolutely.
as we'll look at here shortly.
Yeah. So, Dave, I'll lean on you a little bit, being kind of the boots on the ground here locally in St. Louis, working with customers. And
Make sure it's not a hard question.
the kind of the customer objections that we see out there. We've got a couple examples, but when we're having front counter staff or service advisor work with a customer about, hey, your vehicle might need an alignment. One of those big objections we see all the time is, hey, my car drives fine. Why are you recommending I need an alignment?
Right. And that's typically hard to find staff that can overcome those obstacles on the front drive because they aren't familiar or don't know how to explain. But
sure. So sometimes it comes down to an education, right?
Sure.
Where we can, that's where we can work together as a partnership between the shop and Hunter and with the local Hunter team, where we can help educate those members to really have those conversations and have a good understanding of what the vehicle alignment entails.
Yep.
So we can educate not only the customer, but also the service advisor and the service staff as well too.
You bet.
So
you bet. And it is a big question because a lot of customers who drive their car every day don't recognize that it's always pulling to the left.
Sure. Yeah.
Or pulling to the right, or
Sure.
when you brake, and because they're used to it. They
Mm-hmm.
drive it every day, so they don't know. But being able to inspect, if you do see visual signs of tire wear, again, you can't tell that the car is necessarily out of alignment. There could be something else going on. But ultimately, bringing that awareness and showing the customer is best education.
Right, exactly. And I think any of those is where it really kind of warrants further inspection on that front for sure.
So, most definitely.
But, if we have a customer says, well, why do I need an alignment? My vehicle drives fine. A lot of cases, there's situations where like you mentioned, the alignment doesn't necessarily rear its ugly head sometimes, where it's not a symptom. Like it's no different than if, we go to the doctor and, we feel okay, but maybe we've got something else going on that isn't presenting itself as a symptom, but shows up in a blood test or other kind of test, anything like that.
Well,
So
I'm sure with everybody here on watching this in their general area. I mean, I drive 3,000 to 4,000 miles a month. Potholes.
Yeah, right.
and watching people hit potholes and watching people hit curbs. Alignment is guaranteed for out the door. And as soon as you hit the curb at the bank or the drive-through, it's done. So
it has the potential to get knocked out, which kind of goes into that next objection of, well, I just had an alignment done a few months ago. Well, with the way the roads can be, especially if you're getting into the change of the seasons with, around here in St. Louis, we call it pothole season,
right.
Where if you hit the right pothole at the right speed, at the wrong angle, it can knock that alignment out. And you could have just had an alignment done 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
So there's always kind of that factor that goes into it as well, too. So any number of other things can cause that as well, too.
Or if the teenagers are driving your car. So just to put that out there.
Sure.
But,
sure.
With the alignments, obviously, you're saving tire life and improving fuel mileage. And I think fuel mileage is one of them things that's underrated. Nobody speaks of fuel mileage.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about tires all the time, but a vehicle out of alignment and properly aligning a car can improve fuel mileage 3 miles per gallon.
Sure.
That's
huge.
That's a fact.
Yeah,
that's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah. No one wants to pay for gas. Gas is expensive. Tires are expensive. So.
Yeah, exactly. There doesn't seem like they're getting any cheaper.
No, sir.
So they got to go again. Goes into that kind of third customer objection. I just got new tires. I can't spend any more money on tires. Well, kind of the easy overcoming statement for that is that's a perfect reason why to have the alignment done, is to protect that investment of the tires. Make sure we extend that tire life as long as possible. Make sure that the vehicle is driving straight, so we're not wearing out those tires prematurely.
Peace of mind.
Exactly, kind of that cheap insurance policy. So one way that we can kind of do this is, we're talking about where do these opportunities kind of come from. Once we've kind of decided that, hey, we want to increase the number of alignments that we're bringing in-house, kind of an unmanned inspection system is really what can be the catalyst for that opportunity to really grow, where we can check all the cars that are coming into the shop very quickly, where we can look at the inspection, we can look at the alignment condition through the inspection. We can look at the tire tread depth as well too, and kind of bundle those two together to get a good kind of holistic view of what's going on with the car.
This is for me, this is the future. You don't need to hire somebody to use this equipment. You don't need to hire someone to man it, to watch it. It is immediate. You can run a car through this about every 5 to 7 seconds. The results are immediate for the service advisor. We have a flashboard up there that you can have on a TV behind the desk, or each advisor can have that screen on their computer, and it'll let a customer know camber, total tow, between the 32 lasers and 8 cameras. It'll show 40 images of the vehicle, damage cameras. The ROI opportunity is off the board with this. But before we ever get into ROI, I always speak on behalf of how many customers come back and try to nickel and dime you for a scratch in the fender or a dent in the door. With this taking 40 images, protects yourself from that $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And that alone is worth something.
Yeah, definitely.
Besides the increased opportunity on alignments, which is tremendous. Another great piece with Quick Check Drive is for customers that night drop their vehicle. You have a porter drive it through, get it rode up, park it. Those results can be emailed to a customer.
Oh, great.
So you can email them results immediately, and let the customer know where their vehicle stands at the time. So
yeah, so this provides a great digital platform to where we can gather all those results kind of in one place.
Huge.
Not only on the alignment side, not only on the tire inspection side, but also on the body damage image front as well too, where we can kind of, again, for the shops, it's of a cheap insurance policy to where we can take photos all the way around the vehicle as it drives in to check for any pre-existing body damage or anything like that, and have that documented up front. So that way there's really no adversity with kind of that. I always say it's everybody's 3 favorite words in the automotive industry. Ever since you had my car. Right. So that, again, I think helps kind of build trust with the customer. One other way I always like to kind of talk about this system, not only is the benefit there that it's unmanned, we don't have to have a porter there, don't have to have a skilled technician running the vehicles through this. In fact, most of the time, the owner of the vehicle is going to be the one driving through this system, gathering this data for us. But it helps us build trust with the customer. So I myself, as a service advisor or front counter staff, when I have a vehicle come through, let's say it's Mrs. Jones, she brings in her Toyota van, and everything shows up green. Well, that's great. That's almost more important for me than the vehicle that needs the alignment, because now I can start building trust with.
You bet. Reassure the customer.
Yes, exactly. So we can kind of celebrate the green, as I like to call it, where hey, Mrs. Jones, I know you're here for an oil change today, but we went ahead and as you drove in, we did a complimentary alignment and tire inspection on the vehicle. Everything's good. Alignment's good. Your tires are good. So now as we kind of work in, a year later, 2 years later, as she's coming in and out for the oil changes, I can kind of watch and monitor those, the tire life or the alignment. So maybe it does come time to where she's ready for tires on that van. We can kind of preface that conversation an oil change or two before we have to ask her to spring $1,200, $1,400 for new tires for that van.
I think what's huge in today's market too is let's just go back 10 years ago. Oil changes were 3,000 miles roughly. We were typically seeing a customer 4 times a year in our shop. And now oil changes have spread out 8 and 10,000 miles. So chances are you don't even get to really know your customers all the time.
Sure.
Because there's such a distance in between. And I think having equipment like this, that if they are coming in once a year or every 8 to 10 months, let's say, this is a great piece of equipment to help keep up with what's going on with customers' cars, because chances are hitting curbs and doing whatever, and all they're doing is putting gas in it every day for months
Sure.
on end until they're able to get into a shop. Unless they actually physically have a driving problem, you're able to capture this immediately. And here, all the shops I go into, people go out, they get the mileage and the VIN off the car. They usually do a quick, look for scratch and dents maybe, but no one can walk out and tell that car's out of
Sure.
alignment.
Yeah. There's no magic formula for that.
No magic
touch.
formula. And nothing better than saying, Mr. Dierker, this is Dave at ABC Motors. Yeah, I wanted to call, let you know you dropped your car off this morning. Boy, this thing's really out of alignment.
Sure.
The customer's on the other line going, yeah, right. What else are they going to try and sell me? Versus with a piece of equipment like this, that peace of mind is to be able to sit here and say, Mr. Dierker, by the way, while I'm writing you up, you came through our quick check drive. I want to show that your vehicle's out of alignment, and here's what we can do for you today. And you can even at that time walk out and address, look at the tires, show them right then and there. Show and sell. It's huge.
Yeah.
Difference. Deal breaker.
It really provides kind of that unbiased third party view on exactly that, right?
Right.
It helps kind of build that trust where, yes, we have third party hard evidence that says this vehicle is possibly due for alignment, and tire condition is X, right? Whether that's good, bad, or
I think that's huge. It's, I'm a business consultant. I'm a sales consultant. I don't have the sales pitch. You don't need a sales pitch here. You just need to show your customer what's going on with their car.
Yeah, and I think this is where that ROI kind of speaks for itself, right?
It does.
Right, and so it really provides a really good payback, a very quick payback in that sense, where we can increase the alignment opportunity all the way across the board. So the great thing with that inspection system, it's again unmanned. There's really no intervention there for a porter or technician. It's all pretty much done by the customer themselves. But what it provides as an opportunity for the shops is now we can inspect nearly every vehicle that's coming into the shop. Whereas if it's a manned process where we have a technician, we're relying on a porter to measure the alignment condition or measure the tires on the vehicle. Let's face it, when things get busy, typically that's something that gets dropped off sometimes, right? If things are kind of going crazy around the shop, it's kind of that busy time of the morning or the afternoon when people are dropping off cars and picking up. Sometimes that process just kind of goes by the wayside a little bit. Whereas this system remains consistent. Regardless of how busy the shop is, we can run vehicles through that system very quickly. And that's where we can take that information, take those opportunities, and backfeed it to the back of the shop on the alignment system, on the actual alignment lift, on the alignment rack, and keep that alignment technician busy. And that's where that ROI comes in, where we can realize a really great payoff where, we assume we're working 5 days a week. I don't like working Saturdays and Sundays.
No.
And I know that's not always the case in the automotive industry. A lot of shops are working Saturdays. But
even if you are 6 days a week, your opportunity is better.
It only grows, right?
It only grows.
So we're being a little conservative here, just saying that 5-day work week. We're looking at about kind of at $30,000 roughly for kind of a standard alignment system in that case. And we're assuming about $120 per alignment charge. And there's about a 20% profit margin there for the technician on that side of it, that labor cost. And that's doing about 5 alignments a day, which really isn't too bad. I mean, that's 3 in the morning, 2 after lunch. That's not terrible, but we're looking at almost $120,000 in additional gross profit for the year. And I really like that 10-year number because, I mean, 1.2 million, that's a lot.
Couldn't do without that.
And we're looking at full equipment payback in about 3 months. So that opportunity there is kind of, again, going back to if we really look for it, we dive down into it and inspect the vehicles that are coming in, we can find those opportunities to boost that alignment profitability.
I'm not a business owner. I'm not going to tell anybody how to run a business. Everybody has their challenges. But building a business and being well-versed, it's just like an investment portfolio. We talk about don't put all your eggs in one basket. There are a lot of repair facilities that go, I don't do tires and I don't do alignments. If you have the ability and you have the space and you have the traffic, man, it can bring.
Sure.
Being in the dealership world, we had, warranty work, customer pay, internal, and maintenance. And I couldn't live without any of them because not always did you had heavy, what I called high gross, low volume work coming in.
So your engines and
Engines,
overhauls
transmissions, oil leaks.
Sure.
I mean, you needed maintenance to fill those gaps. And I think that's huge in the market today, and especially in today's world, trying to, everybody's competing to capture business. And I want to be able to provide everything I can for my customers.
Sure. So I think the math is pretty solid on this. If we're looking at, we inspect 20 vehicles per day. If we go with that, about 50% fail an alignment inspection. About half the vehicles out on the road could benefit from having an alignment performed. We're looking at about 10 of those maybe need that alignment service. If we close half of those, so we sell 5 of those 10.
Right.
At $80 net profit, that's $400 per day. We're looking at 251 working days throughout the year. It's about $100,000 worth of gross profit there on that side of it. And then it just, again, grows over time, looking at that 5-year window and then 10 years and beyond. It just really makes a lot
when
of
I'm
sense.
out in the field and I'm talking to people about ROI, I always say, look, I could come up with an ROI number, but a lot of people think it's just a sales pitch. So I always bring this number to the table because it's pretty easy to figure out right there.
Sure.
That this couldn't change your world.
And these would be pretty conservative numbers for the most part.
They're conservative numbers.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I think definitely the math is there for sure on that side.
You bet.
But as we kind of get into this as well too, we always like to throw this out that equipment is only expensive if you're not using it, right? That's the most expensive piece of equipment in the shop is the one that's not being used.
Nothing like the wife saying, you bought that hunting rifle 2 years ago and haven't been hunting with it yet. It's
or the boat or the fishing rod, whatever
exactly.
your fancy is, right? Exactly. So I think part of this goes into talking about tires as well too, where this is becoming even more important as we see more and more hybrid vehicles and electric vehicles out on the road where they're becoming heavier, they're very high torque, kind of that instantaneous torque.
And they go through tires a lot.
They go through a lot more tires because of that instant torque, and they're heavier. Where we're seeing more and more of these EVs that have a shorter lifespan on the tires just by nature of how they operate. So that's another big consideration as well too. Of we can really capitalize on those tire opportunities, specifically on those vehicles, but also on your regular internal combustion engine vehicles as well too, if we're inspecting them. If we have a system that allows us to inspect every vehicle that comes in.
Having good processes in place is important.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a critical piece of that for sure. And I think part of the tire conversation as well too is, when we really kind of look at the market as a whole, I think tires have always kind of been not necessarily a loss leader, but there's not a lot of profitability or profit margin in selling tires. But there's been a lot of studies that have been done out in the industry where we kind of look at the market as a whole, and typically what we see is the shop that offers a customer tires who needs tires.
Right.
So we do the inspection. Their vehicle needs a new set of tires. Typically, that shop has just won that customer's business.
Right.
Not only for the tires, but also for any maintenance going forward.
I myself am a customer.
Yeah, we're both consumers.
We're both consumers. I don't like going to 2 and 3 different shops.
Mm-hmm.
If I can go to one shop that can take care of everything I need, that's it. I don't want to go to 2 doctors. I don't want to go to 3 doctors.
Absolutely. So I think having that ability to be able to offer the tire service to the customer is a great way to bring them into the fold, into that kind of the culture of your particular shop out there in the industry, where we can keep them coming back for not only the oil changes and the tires and the alignments, but if any of the big stuff happens, the transmissions and the engine overhauls and stuff like that as well too.
You bet. And I, just quickly, I kind of challenge everybody out there. If you're not in the tire business, if you're not in the alignment business, and you are considering, survey your customers. Get a survey card, hand it to your customers, do an email blast, do a mailer, and see what your customers think. Because if they like you and they're coming to you for work, would it potentially have a tremendous effect on your business, providing these customers say, oh my God, it'd be great if you did tires and alignments. I would love that. Survey your customers, see what they say.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of the heartbeat of the business,
You
right?
bet.
That's it.
That's what keeps you going.
So when we dig in a little bit, just kind of put a little bit of a bow on some of the alignment conversation here. And one kind of other part of this as well is kind of talking about the ADAS serviceability as far as the static calibration. So those are those ones that we're looking at having a fixture in the bay, we're putting a target in front of the car, we're hooking up a scan tool and we're doing a calibration as in some cases as part of that post-alignment repair process as well. There are some manufacturers that mandate this kind of calibration post-wheel alignment as well too, which is kind of why we're in this space as well, because it all kind of ties together.
Post-body shop repairs.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially in the collision world. But part of that, I think, is just the takeaway here is that there is equipment out there that helps kind of solve these challenges with these static calibrations and provides technicians the equipment and the calibration processes to take care of these systems post-wheel alignment or post-collision repair. And of course, we have some of those systems available to our customers as well too.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So on the last kind of tail end of this as well too, just kind of a quick shameless plug on my side as the field training manager. We actually recently launched a brand new LMS system, a learning management platform called Hunter University. This has been totally revamped from anything we've had in the past and is absolutely world-class from stem to stern. And this is where technicians can go to learn more about those ADAS systems, learn more about alignments, learn more about inspection systems, and really allows them to dive in not only online and in person, but to really get the training that they need to be successful.
They can take classes.
Absolutely.
Get
take
scored.
Classes. Yep.
You know,
there's
so you can go to www.hunter.com and go to our training tab at the top and do the drop down, and it'll take you to this. And
yeah,
I know you're proud of this.
Yeah,
it's cool.
We're very proud of it. It provides a lot of opportunity for the technicians and for front counter staff, service advisors to go in and take these courses online. They can get a certificate for completing these courses. And really, it's that education that allows them to be really, really well-versed in having those conversations with the customers. And the best part of all, Dave, this is free.
Yeah, online courses are all free.
Yep, any of the courses on here from Hunter are free. Yep.
That's awesome.
Very
and
cool.
It's great for your technicians, especially guys that are new in the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way to start getting them educated, moving forward.
So easier than ever to get the training that we need for the equipment, right? So from there, Dave, I appreciate the time. This was good.
Thank you.
This was good.
Thank you. Awesome. Yep. Great job.
Yep. Dave, we're going to go ahead and turn it back over to you guys over on your side, and we'll be here to take any questions or anything.
Thank you, David.
Dave, Miles, fantastic presentation. To our audience, in a few moments, we're going to begin the Q&A portion of this webinar. But before we do that, I'd like to ask everyone to please complete our survey. So audience members, we really need your feedback here. And as a special incentive to complete the survey, we're offering a $10 Amazon gift card to 25 randomly selected people who complete today's survey. The survey should be appearing in the middle of your screen shortly, but if you don't see it, you can launch it by going to the black toolbar on the left of your screen and clicking the survey icon. So now let's answer some of our audience questions. Our first question comes from Andrew. Andrew asks, how long should the average alignment take?
Well, I think on average, if we're talking kind of the simple adjustments, we're just setting maybe toe in the rear, toe in the front, 20, 25 minutes.
At most.
Yeah, at most. Yeah. We start getting into parts replacement and we're having to install shim packs or camber kits or anything like that. That can take a little bit more time.
Or if it's a 15-year-old car and you're in a salt belt. Yeah.
Sure.
They have some challenges there, to be honest. I mean, you're up in the Chicago, Cleveland area. It could be a little tough.
Sure. So, Andrew, I would say on average, probably anywhere between that 15 to 25 minute mark, depending on the vehicle and what adjustments need to be made.
Fantastic. Our next question comes from Jay. Jay asks, how much are you charging for alignment services?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I have little bitty shops charging $89. I have independents charging $129. I've got dealers charging $189 and $249 for a four-wheel alignment. So it's really kind of all over the board. For those of you that have interest, you can get online and shop your competition or call your competition and see what the average rates are going. I don't use the practice of being cheaper is better. So don't try to go out and be the cheapest. You want to be in the market to be profitable. If you're investing in equipment and the right equipment to do a great job for your customers, I think it's huge to be proud of what you're charging. It doesn't mean you have to be blowing everybody out of the water, but be proud of your price. Be proud for what you're doing.
Mm. Our next question comes from Larry. Larry asks, are there any fees required for the inspection equipment?
Yes, there are. You get 3 years on damage camera.
Yeah, I think overall, so part of the inspection system that what is included with that is access to what we call our HunterNet platform, which is really kind of that electronic cloud service that houses all that data and that information. Now, at its heart, that access to that platform is included with the investment of that inspection system. When we get into a little bit of that body damage camera imagery, that's where that can vary a little bit as far as an additional charge. I believe that beyond 90 days, there's a little bit of a fee, but it's nominal. Overall, that difference is made up very quickly in
savings.
In the savings, yeah, I was going to say the return, but in the savings that you would have with eliminating those comebacks with the ever since you, or
Right.
We've got a scratch, we've got a dent that was already pre-existing, but now it's a he said, she said kind of situation on that side of it. But access to that HunterNet platform, all the data, everything with that is all included with the investment of that inspection system.
Fantastic. Our next question here comes from David. He is asking about finding in-person training for using this equipment, specifically asking about Massachusetts.
Oh, great. Perfect.
About
So
what?
for Massachusetts, state of Massachusetts.
Oh.
So David, the great way to find that information is if you go to, again, our website, hunter.com, click on the training tab. That will take you into our training platform. And that will basically allow you to search by state for those in-person classes. You should be able to log in, find the state of Massachusetts. That'll list out the classes that are available there in that area with the local hunter trainer who's up that way up in the Northeast.
Yeah, or reach out to your local hunter rep.
Oh yeah,
your
absolutely.
sales rep,
Yep.
and get in touch with him. When you go to hunter.com, you can scroll all the way down the bottom of the page. It'll ask you for a zip code of your particular area, and it'll pull up your sales rep's name and phone number and email, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And you can reach out to him and discuss.
Yeah, the local team there will be able to support as well too.
You bet.
Yep.
Be a big help.
Fantastic. Our next question here comes from Andrew. He is asking, how far back does the Hunter alignment spec database go?
Oh gosh, that's a good question.
I'm soon to be 61, and it will go back that far.
So
it'll go back to the 50s.
It'll go pretty far. It'll vary a little bit on year, make, and model, and manufacturer and whatnot. But we do have specs that go all the way back into the early 60s, late 50s in some cases. So anything that's going to be 80s era.
Great
and
question.
Onward,
Yeah.
we're going to have really good coverage for that. The great thing about our spec database is the database isn't something that we put together where Hunter's making up the specs for the vehicles. We have partnerships with the OE manufacturers, and the specs that are in our database are the specs that are coming from the service information for each of those vehicles directly from the manufacturer. We just partner with them to compile it, put it in our database. So when you're doing the vehicle alignment with our system, you know that we're using those specs directly from the
Must
manufacturer.
be a huge PC to hold all that information.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Great question.
We have another great question here from Brad. Brad is asking, when a vehicle needs parts, let's say, tie rods, ball joints, control arms, something of that nature, would you recommend that the customer proceed with the alignment?
That is a great question. So typically if we do an inspection, so we bring the vehicle back onto the alignment lift, our alignment technician goes underneath and he does kind of that traditional shakedown, as we call it. And he finds loose tie rods, he finds loose worn out ball joints or other suspension components. Maybe we need a new springs or anything like that that are affecting the ride height of the vehicle. In a lot of cases, yeah, if we have worn loose components, typically we're going to shy away from wanting to recommend that alignment service, because that alignment's not going to hold. If we have loose steering components or suspension components, we do the alignment. As soon as we back the car off the alignment lift, that alignment condition is going to change. So the recommendation there at that point is having a conversation with the customer about repairing that suspension system or whatever's worn out on that system. So whether we need new tie rods, new ball joints, anything like that, we would want to do those services first prior to doing the alignment service as well too.
Yeah, and I agree with what Miles is saying. Of course, if you run into that customer that's adamant, I just want the alignment done, align it for him. Just let him know that when he decides to take care of replacing the parts, we'll need to realign it again, because as you said, you can align it, but as soon as you go out the door, the alignment specs are altered because you're dealing with loose and worn parts.
Yeah. So a lot of it comes down again to a customer education part of it as well too, where we take the time to educate the customer on those systems and why it's important to have components that aren't worn out, right, prior to doing the alignment service.
You bet.
Fantastic. This question comes from Patty. Patty is asking, does the inspection system integrate with any other systems?
It does. Another great question. So we partner with a whole host of different integration systems out there as well too, where we can integrate. I know with Reynolds right off the top of my head, there's one out there. Several that are used kind of in the dealership world, like X-Time,
Right.
Go Motos out there as well too. And there's a lot in the aftermarket world as well too, as far as those integration partners.
And that integration's growing.
Yeah. Yep. And from our end, there's no fee from Hunter's end with that inspection system to take that data that we get and to toss it over to that integration partner. What they do with it on their side of it and any fee that they charge on their end would be kind of on their respective side of things. But there's no charge on the Hunter side to have our system take that data and to send it over to another integration partner. That's, again, something that we're also expanding that library as well too, as those we're ever growing kind of in that department as far as the integration partners that we work with. So a good way to kind of figure out who we work with is, again, if you go to our website, go to our product page and go to those inspection systems. If you scroll down about halfway down the page, I believe there's a whole list of the inspection partners that we work with currently. And if your group's not on there that you work with and you want to have that capability, to have that integration happen between Hunter and Brand X integration partner or DMS system, reach out to the system and the partner that you're using on that side and let them know, hey, we want your system to integrate with the Hunter inspection system, and kind of drive them towards us to say, we want this ability to be able to gather all that data into one platform so we can best serve our customers.
And Patty, that's a great question, because with all the inspection programs out there today, tablets and inspection and everything getting sent by text and email, it would provide a complete inspection along with the alignment.
It's always good to have everything kind of under one roof. Yeah.
Excellent. And Walter is asking, how many alignments can I realistically expect to do in a typical day with one machine?
Well, I guess it really kind of depends on how many vehicles we're inspecting throughout the day.
If we were to sit here and take an 8-hour day, You can do, there are shops out there doing over 15 alignments a day.
Sure.
Not every shop is doing over 15 a day. I'm not going to, again, it's not a sales pitch, but we have guys out there doing over 15 a day.
Mhm.
It's hands down. So
I think a realistic number, Walter, let's say you're the alignment technician, it's just you and one machine, and you've got a decent customer base coming in and out. If we're inspecting cars throughout the day, and let's say your car count throughout the day is, conservatively, it's a small shop, maybe 20, obviously not knowing a whole lot about the background of the shop that you're at. But let's say 20 cars a day, again, we look at about half of those might fail the alignment. If we're able to inspect 10 of those, and then we're able to sell 5 of those alignments, again, that's where we kind of look at, realistically, I could probably do 2 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, or vice versa. Or even very conservatively, 2 in the morning before lunch, 2 in the afternoon after lunch. And we're still looking at a really good profit potential in that case as well, too. So
I think in this case, Dave, the question would be back is how many customers does he see on average a day?
Yeah, that would, the great thing is, Walter, if you're really curious about that, you can reach out to, again, your local Hunter team, work with the Hunter business consultant in your area. And let's get your numbers together. Let's talk about it. Let's see what you're seeing throughout the day, see what your car count is, how many vehicles you're inspecting throughout the day. And we can really kind of put together a good realistic picture for your particular situation, your particular shop. So we can really kind of drive that and figure out, hey, what is realistic for one machine?
Right. And again, based off of good processes
Right, absolutely.
But there are shops that are doing a tremendous job at hitting alignments. So
a lot of variability to it.
Fantastic. And it looks like we have time for a couple of more questions here. I have one here from Darnell. Darnell asks, if I dedicate a bay entirely to an alignment machine, are there any other services I can do there when I'm not doing alignments?
Most definitely.
Sure.
I'll answer that. Sure. So that alignment rack and aligner is for alignments, but that alignment rack also can be used for service. So you can do oil changes on it, brakes on it. You can do anything you want on it. It's, but the question is how many opportunities during the day do you have for alignments? Because you obviously, it's kind of a fine line there as to want to make sure you get your alignments done. So, if you think you're going to have 4 or 5 alignments a day, like we've been talking on a conservative side, that rack can be used for other things as well. So
sure, absolutely. And there's also the ADAS side, that advanced driver assist systems, where we can do some of those calibrations post repair as well too.
Most definitely.
Something else that I've been working a lot with other customers in the industry and a lot of technicians is even in some of those day-to-day repairs, especially we get into like AC repairs. We're in kind of the midst of AC repair season right now. A lot of these newer vehicles, if you go in and have to pull out the condenser, you're pulling out the core support, that radar that might be equipped on some vehicles typically has to come off the vehicle to make that repair, to get that new condenser put in, whatever it might be. And anytime that radar comes off, now we have to talk about calibration post-repair, which a lot of times, in a lot of cases, the alignment bay is a good space to do that calibration as well too. So there's another opportunity with that.
There is. And what everybody doesn't realize is you take the bumper cover off and the radar comes off, goes back on, it requires recal. It requires a recal.
That's pretty much every piece of service information I've looked at basically says if it comes off, you're doing an R&R or anything like that, you've removed it off the mounting bracket, it needs to be recalibrated once it goes back on. So lots of other opportunities there.
You bet.
In the alignment bay for sure.
Got it. So Gary does not have an inspection system, and Gary is asking, what are some things that I can do now without having an inspection system to increase alignments?
So I think very simply, one of the things is set up a process in the shop to inspect cars with the technician. So kind of just the old school way, I guess we'll call it that, the old school way of make it part of the daily process where we've got 1 or 2 technicians maybe in the shop that's kind of their key role is doing those inspections manually. That is still a great way to uncover those alignment opportunities and opportunities for other repairs where we're finding loose suspension components or any other repairs that might need to be done with the customer. Just because we're kind of talking about that unmanned inspection system here today, doesn't necessarily mean we can't have that manned process
Sure.
still in place in the shop as well too. That would be a great way to again uncover those opportunities and to boost that alignment potential as well.
Yeah, Gary, if you have an alignment rack, put it to use.
Yep, that's the best way to do it.
If you're not doing an alignment on a car, have somebody putting the heads on, compensating, seeing what them alignment specs are, and sending that information to your customer and see what you can do.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So Michael wants to know how much space is actually needed to drive a vehicle through.
So for the inspection system, I don't know the specs off the top of my head. That's we'd have
Up
spec
to
sheets
11,
and
I
everything
think you
like
can
that.
go as wide as 10 or 11 feet. So
Yeah.
we can put towers on an 8-foot door. I mean,
Yeah. So typically we're looking kind of that typical shop door width-wise, and then I want to say about a flat floor car length before and after the system, give or
Right.
take. Those are very rough numbers. Again, best thing to do would be to reach out to your local Hunter business consultant and have him come out and take a look at the area that you might be thinking about putting a system in. We can do a site survey and kind of figure out where is the best spot to place that system. We can get you all the site specs and everything for that as well too.
Fantastic. And I think this is going to be our last question here. This comes from Mary. Mary wants to know, what does it take to install an inspection system?
So that varies a little bit kind of depending on each shop situation, but typically the way we looked at it today, where we're looking at the alignment inspection as well as the tread depth inspection. So we have the 2 alignment towers that would kind of go on the side that are doing that touchless alignment inspection. And then for the tires, we've got sensors that would go down in the ground in line with that system. So that install typically would actually involve having a pocket installed for those
small pit.
small pit installed. There's the right word. A small pit installed for the tread depth cameras that would go, the tread depth sensors that would go down in the ground. And then those alignment towers would basically just be anchored to the ground next to that system. And I mean, I think
Good internet.
most installs
Wired.
take what, about a day or so?
On the quick check towers is a couple hours. I mean, probably 3 or 4 hours. Once you get the towers in, you got to calibrate everything, run cable, because you want everything wired and hardwired. Usually some people put a TV, a flight board in the waiting room or above the desk where the customers are being written up, so they can see it on a big screen as they're in the write-up area. But that doesn't take long. And then the quick tread edge, which is the pit in the floor, really a lot of that work is going to be just the concrete work, getting the pit built to run the electric and then putting the assembly in. So
Yeah. Which that time frame can vary
all of
a
it
little
could
bit
be,
depending on.
all of it could be a day.
Yeah.
Besides the concrete work, takes some time.
Yeah, that can vary with the concrete contractor
Right.
locally and who's doing that work. But for our team, for our service techs that are coming in and doing the install, typically 24 to 36 hours, somewhere in there.
Right.
All in once the concrete work's done, and we can get all the Hunter iron down in the pit
Right.
and installed typically about a day or so, day and a half.
Yep.
Fantastic, guys. Well, thank you so much. That is going to wrap up our Q&A session for today. But I would like to remind our audience that a recording of this webinar will be available on the Shop Owner Brand and Tire Review websites. So feel free to log in to view it again or to encourage your colleagues to view it. And tomorrow you will receive an email that contains a link to this recording. So this
Thanks,
concludes our
everyone.
webinar. Thanks for your time and have a nice day.